Hello, everybody.
Hey.
How are you? So, welcome to Foundry Live Online. Foundry Live is a term-based event for creative students where we bring industry professionals together and discuss what's happening in the industry. And obviously, we can't do that at the moment, so we've decided to go to the professionals instead. In fact, we've gone all the way to the US.
Yeah. Checking in from yesterday.
Before I introduce the guest, if you've got any comments or questions, please ask them in the comment section and we'll get to them either straight away or when we pause for a breath. So our guest today is Andrew Liddell, and he's an identity designer based in Southern California. He has got loads of experience both in brand but also now in education, and that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about, in the fact that he's moved into a lot more areas, particularly with Adobe Live, where he's actually teaching people how to both think and use programs. So welcome to Foundry Live, Andrew.
Hi, how are you?
Really good. I'm in a new space today, and I'm like beset with all those little things that when you're in a new space, you're kind of like, oh, I haven't got this, I haven't got that.
Yes, and I'm in my bedroom, hiding the mess just off camera.
So let's start there, because I know you were very quick. COVID's obviously been really tough for everybody, but particularly in the States, and particularly people who are used to going into a place and holding tutorials or classes and all that kind of stuff. But you seem to be really quick off the ball. Is that something that you had prepared for? Did you know beforehand?
No, gosh, no. I had just gotten back from visiting Australia 2 days before they locked down. I literally landed, and then 2 days later was like, all right, everything shut down. And so I had some setup and was interested in streaming. I had watched streamers, and right when it hit, I thought, let's take this online. It's a worldwide audience. It's something that we can really reach more people and kind of just have fun. I'm a super extrovert. And so when I heard that we need to be inside, I'm like, ooh, let's figure out a way to be with people without being with people. And thankfully Adobe was there to help support some of that and kind of equip me to be able to just jump into the deep end of being on camera for 5 hours a day. And it's kind of just turned into something that was a passion before, but it's kind of matched up passion with craft. And I absolutely love it.
That's brilliant. You're very good at it.
Thank you.
One of the things I always ask people is what attracted you to design in the first place?
This is such a weird answer. So it was the first time that I saw Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. So I remember watching it, and I was the weird kid that people made fun of in high school and didn't fit in. I was like, oh, where's my place in life? But I remember watching Nightmare Before Christmas and just being marveled at how Tim Burton had created a world that everything was so weird and different and unique, but somehow it still worked. And so there was something intriguing about that idea of building a system, of creating a world and being able to tell a story that I think had an interest in creativity. And I think eventually landed in design. I was a theater major for a little while. I was an English major for a little while. I just wanted to do something that was creative when I grew up. And I guess I landed in design.
So when you were in those theater majors and the did you say English major as well?
Yes.
So what I guess I'm always interested in that kind of, because obviously those skills you could bring into design, and I love design because you can bring every sort of skill into it. But
yep.
Are there any skills that you've managed to bring over from those majors?
I think so. So I also did public relations, and I actually stuck with that through as well. And so I always tell people, if you have the ability to do design plus something else, it doesn't just make you a double threat. You're just an absolute powerhouse because you're able to shift and adapt. That it's I can write a campaign, we can make copy as well as design it. If you have the dual to be able to do both of those, it just broadens your scope. And I think design's all about perspective. And so being able to have the theater background, the English background, I can pull perspective from projects from classic literature instead of just looking at design stuff. Maybe there's a line in a musical that I'm like, man, that's a great line. Let's take that idea and try to apply it to this brand. It's all about kind of cross-pollinating those inspirations.
That's wonderful. So when we were talking about you coming on, and I kind of talked about how I was going to kind of introduce you. And as part of that, I said that I called you an influencer, and you instantly were like, oh, am I?
It's gross. It just feels weird.
Why does it feel? Because I would say very much you're if you consider all the different things you're on and how helpful you are to so many people out there, I would say very much you fit into that influencer role.
Yeah, I think it's weird being close to LA and kind of just getting like the vibe of influencers here is just like, it feels nasty. But I think that it's something that I've come to just realize of like, oh, I have a reach and I have a voice and a platform. And I want to use that to like build community, to educate people, to like bring up the next generation of designers and whatnot. And so it is that weird idea of like, oh, I do have influence and I hopefully am influencing people for good and to level up their skills. But the idea of being an influencer just feels so weird. Yeah, it's like, sure, but also maybe no, but yes.
So it's that community thing that I really wanted to talk to you about. And because you seem really, when I've met you before, you talk a lot about that community, and you're, I guess, very obsessed about kind of improving communities and kind of building communities from the ground. And one of the communities you built, which has been really successful, is CancelCon.
Yeah.
Can you give us a bit of the elevator pitch about what CancelCon is and where it came from?
Yeah, so CancelCon happened literally right after COVID hit. I am the programming director for a conference in Georgia called Creative South, and so we had been. Can you bring up the next generation to rock that T-shirt? Yes, absolutely. This is actually from Creative South, from a store in Columbus, Georgia called Disco Fashions. They have the best stuff. Every time I go, I buy something. But nice. So I had been planning Creative South, had been deep in like figuring out what's programming, speakers, what are the bits, what are we going to do? Because I host as well. And then we ended up having to cancel it. And I was like, maybe we do a little online event to like try to get people involved still. And as I started to reach out to some of my friends, it became like this crazy thing to where like, because all of these big names in design that were supposed to speak at conferences couldn't anymore. It was this lightning in a bottle of everybody wants to be involved with this. And it's the way that like we can come together right now, even though we couldn't come together. And so as it kept building, to me, I had a standard set of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And the level of right like kept rising. And so it was this mad scramble of, I think we decided to do it mid-March, and then we had it the first weekend in April. And so it was just pure insanity. We went 2 full days of speakers. And then we eventually did a second one a little while later that was a little bit smaller, but it was just the idea of let's hang out because we can't. This isn't going to be like an online event. It was free and open to everyone. It's something that is focused on community, focused on inspiration and nothing else. And I think that was kind of the magic of it. And I think it was super fun. I loved it. I was tired, but it was fun.
It was so much fun, and it was so intimate as well. Like I just had you running on in the background, and it was just that kind of like it's like, oh, Andrew's there, and like he's like talking to this person, and this person's now talking, and it was just this really lovely.
Yeah, that was the wild thing for me was seeing on Instagram like people's stories of like we're having breakfast and watching CancelCon, and like, oh, I'm doing my workout and watching, and I'm like, what? Like these random people around the world just like have my face on their screen because I decided to like do a thing. Like we trended in the United States on Twitter, and I was like, what? Like, who are these people? Like, why are you here? What are you watching? I'm just like a dude in my bedroom, like with a whole bunch of friends. And so it was crazy that I wanted to give back to the community, and the community like bolstered it into something that I wouldn't have made it otherwise. Like they literally turned it into something really amazing that was exciting for me to just ride the wave.
I love it. I think it was the intro for the second one where it was just like you waking up in bed.
Yes. Yes. And the second one. So this is something I talked about doing the second one. And a guy reached out to me who composes music and was like, hey, do you want to write like an opening number? And having the theater background, I'm like, yes, I have always wanted to do an opening number. And so I was on vacation and I, in my phone, just record me like singing a song. Like I wrote a little song and then I recorded it. And then he did like full orchestration, brought in a drummer, and they made like a master file. And then I sang over it and then went out and lip synced and like did the opening video. And it was just like,
amazing.
How has this happened? Like, it was so crazy. It was awesome.
Love it. We got a question there. It's from Dark Hours Co. What do you think the key pillars of community building are?
Yeah. So
Tough question.
yeah, one from Ben Stafford, who is like literally top tier community person in the design industry. I don't know if he's on social media right now. I think he's taking a break, but it's Ben Couraging is his tag if he's on Twitter, I think, or Ben Stafford on Dribble. I know he's on there. But he always told me to try to make friends and not connections, right? You go to conferences is not about like handing out your business card. It's like, cool, tell me about your life. Like, let's go get a beer. Let's hang out. And being able to make those deep friendships, I think have made the world of difference to me. Like it wouldn't have happened. Cancel Cloud wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had cultivated relationships with a lot of these speakers at conferences over the past, 5-6 years. There are people I'm like, cool, I know that I can email this person, tweet at them. Hopefully they remember me from, meeting at a conference or something. And then we're able to do this thing together. And then, which brings to the second pillar, I think, is that you should invest in community. It's an investment that I think pays off. And so invest what you want out of community, but like continue to invest, and that will grow with interest. And then hopefully when you need to make a withdrawal, right, which CancelCon is a perfect example. I'm like, I need you guys to be a part of this. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you've invested, you have the equity to be able to make a withdrawal right now. And then it comes back like tenfold. So just invest in the community around you, and don't be afraid to talk to people. Reach out on Twitter, reach out on Instagram. Once conferences are back, just go talk to people, and you never know what'll happen.
So still talking about CancelCon, is there going to be a third one?
I'm undecided. So I think, so the 1-year anniversary is coming up. That's a big deal. Is that it is April. We in the States are for sure still going to be on lockdown. I mean, like, hopefully we're not, but we probably are. And so there are no conferences happening in April that I know of. And so part of me thinks that we need one more. The second one, I actually was like, okay, let's do another one. Let's like make it a thing. And I think that I missed the mark because I don't think that we needed it. I think I just wanted to do another one. And so I think I'm kind of weighing, do we need one last one that is hopefully a goodbye? This is hopefully the last time we have to do this. This conference self-destructs at the end of day 2. And then it's over. And the hope is that we never have to do this again. And so I think there might be another one. I probably need to jump on that soon if there is. But if it would be mid-April-ish if there is another one.
So why do you say the second one maybe wasn't needed? Because I think I prefer that one just because it felt like there was more kind of cohesion and everyone felt like they had more to say. And I guess I got more out of it. Interesting
to hear. So I think that maybe the content was good. I think that I lost focus after the first one, right? We talk a lot about community, and the first one was like, in community, this is all community. And then I was like, ooh, this could be a thing. Let's like do donations and like try to get sponsors and like see if we can monetize. And like, I tried to turn it into something that it wasn't. And so I think for me, it didn't feel as successful because I'm like, oh, like in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, I think that I kind of lost sight there and like tried to make it something that it wasn't. And so the numbers were also super down from like viewership and stuff. And again, in hindsight, that was never important to me. And suddenly it became important. I'm like, oh, what are the numbers? How do they compare to the first one? It's not as much. It didn't go as viral. Why are we doing this? And so I'm trying to fight that going into if we do a third one and figure out, okay, the course community, does the community need this right now? Because I can provide it. I know that I can provide what the community needs if they need something like this right now.
It's funny that you felt that way, because I guess a lot of people who normally have live conferences, definitely in Australia, have name dropped you as a kind of an example of how it could be done, and probably talking about that second one.
That's so wild.
So, but all right, so you do a whole bunch of other things, because I want to talk a little bit about Adobe and Adobe Live, and
yeah,
I'm just going to try and get like all the different things you do. So Adobe Live, you do office hours.
Yep.
Daily creative challenges.
Yep.
Design in the dark.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
There are some new shows that are coming down the pipeline. I just so my relationship with Adobe, I like to generate ideas and pitch ideas for shows just like you would for, a network or a sitcom or whatever. Yep. And so I've pitched 5 new shows that hopefully one of them takes in the next couple months that are just new concepts. But yeah, Design in the Dark and Office Hours is really the big one. Office Hours is every Friday. And then Design in the Dark is kind of just here and there. But it's content that I love. And I love programming and creating the shows from the ground up to like cater to whatever audience or whatever we want to do. It's just like an imagination playground.
Brilliant. The because you do so much of this kind of speaking, and you just, I mean, you said you're an extrovert, but it also that kind of idea like having to be on, all the time. If the camera's on, you have to be on. And I know students have really struggled with that, particularly because of COVID. A lot more kind of presenting from home. They hated presenting in the first place. Have you got any top tips to kind of help with kind of presenting, particularly on camera?
Yeah, I think I like save energy to be on camera. Like when I'm not on camera, I'm, like, oh, I'm going to go like sit somewhere and just watch TikToks, or like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'll go get the mail. And that allows me to like psych up for cool. I need to be at 100 for the entire time this camera is on. And I think that that's just a standard that I've set for myself, that it's like, hey, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it all the way. And so being on camera, I'm like, boom, let's turn it on. Let's get on camera. Like, let's push it to that edge of like, is this guy real? Is he just being fake right now? Of like, give it all that I got. And then when the camera goes off, usually I'll like literally just walk over and like lay on my bed, or like just walk outside and just have a moment where I'm like, okay, cool. I don't want to talk to anyone for a second. Yeah. But it really is having that mindset to be able to turn it on and off. And then just trying to think of who you're talking to. Because a lot of times it feels like you're just talking at a camera. Like right now, I'm literally staring at the camera. You're over here, but I'm just looking straight into the dead of the camera. And it almost is like, I don't keep my eyes on, I keep my brain on. And so I'm thinking like, cool, I'm talking to Matt, he's right there. And that's where the conversation's happening. And every now and then I'll put a little like sticky note with like a drawing of a person right above my lens, so that I just remember like, there's a real person out there somewhere that's watching this.
Now, one of the jobs, we spoke about a whole bunch of different jobs, but one of the jobs that you've been working on recently is actually for Foundry. So
yes.
You've been helping us with, I guess, doing all the tutorials for the new Foundry Wild. This idea of this course, this kind of like able to kind of like touch a little bit of everything, can kind of like try out different things. Why is that important for, I guess, people who are interested in creative industries?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing that I did, that I like went to school and was like, let's do English, let's do theater, let's do like all these other things. It's something to give you a taste to see if it's right for you. It gives you just enough to be interesting, but not too much to be overwhelming, so that you can kind of like walk to the edge and be like, okay, cool. Where are we jumping? Right there. I think I can make that. Yeah, I love this. Let's go. And even going through the graphic design skills portion of things, that was something that as we walked through, I was trying to give just enough so that you could explore and figure out for yourself, oh man, I love this, I want to try more. Or like, okay, cool, I don't know, like, let's try something else. It just really is something that's self-guided, that allows you to make your own journey, which I think is so important as a creative. Because a lot of people get stuck in internships or jobs that are like somebody telling them what to do. This really allows you to decide for yourself what you want to do.
Yeah. And also, I guess, thinking that that you're kind of stuck in, this is what I've always done, so this is what I always have to do. I mean, I think you're an amazing example of that, about someone who can really kind of like, I guess, design where they want to go.
Yeah, I think it was funny. I had worked in-house for a while. I started an agency with some friends, and I hit a moment where I realized like, oh, I don't know if like my work is my sell. I heard so many people talk about, like, you got to have your work in your portfolio and represent yourself and like speak through your work. And I hit a point where I'm like, I think that I'm maybe 30% work and 70% personality. And so why don't I capitalize on that, right? Why don't I figure out what my strengths are and go all in and chase what my strengths are, and then allow the other things to kind of just piggyback on that. And so I found the perfect mix of, okay, cool, I have the entertainment side that I love, I have the education side that I love, and then I have the design all mixed together, as well as being separate. So there are times that they're separate, there are times that are all together, but it allowed me to shift and change. When I left working in-house, I was like done with design. I did game shows, and I was like, I'm gonna do commercials and see if I can like break into Hollywood. And that obviously didn't work because COVID started to hit. But this was the perfect match of that, of like, oh, this is everything that I wanted, but just in a way that I didn't expect it.
Yeah. Brilliant. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Where can people find out more about you or see more of you on particularly Adobe, I guess?
Everywhere. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. It's just hoch.co, HOCHDOTCO, no punctuation, just letters. And then every Friday, which I think would be Saturday for our friends down under, we have office hours, which is catered to oh boy. Sorry, editor, take two. So every Friday we have office hours, which is catered to students, people working on their portfolios that are trying to get into design. That happens every Saturday. I believe it would be in the morning for you around 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think it's 9 o'clock.
Cool. Yeah. And so that's something. And then I have a couple talks coming up this weekend. If you want to hang out on Sunday, I posted about that on my Instagram. And then there's just an eternal amount of my face talking at you. If you follow along on Instagram or Twitter, I'll post about all of it as it goes through.
And it's worth mentioning that you can go back and watch all the CancelCon as well. So
yes, yeah, you can. It's youtube.com/canceledcon, I believe, will take you directly to the page. And you can watch all of those videos, which is wild to look back and be like, wow, this was like the start of something crazy that would happen in the next year.
It's brilliant. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Yep. Have a great tomorrow, everyone.
See ya.